The Last Noo Noo by Jill Murphy. Marlon sat on the floor watching TV. Marlon's granny sat in the armchair watching Marlon. "He's getting too old for that dummy," she said, shouting to Marlon's mum. "It's a noo-noo," said Marlon. "He calls it a noo-noo," explained Marlon's mum. "Well, whatever he calls it," said Marlon's granny. "He looks so silly with that great thing stuck in his mouth all the time." "He doesn't have it all the time," soothed Marlon's mum. "Only at night, or if he's a little bit tired. And he's a bit tired now, aren't you?" said Marlon. "His teeth will start sticking out," warned Marlon's granny. "Monsters' teeth stick out anyway," observed Marlon. "Don't answer back," said Marlon's granny. "You should just throw them all away," she continued. "At this rate, he'll be starting school with a dummy. At this rate, he'll be starting work with a dummy. You'll just have to be firm with him." "Well," said Marlon's mum, "I am thinking about it. We'll start next week, won't we, Marlon? Now you're a big boy, we'll just get rid of all those silly noo-noos, won't we?" "No," said Marlon. "You'll see," said Marlon's granny. "One word from you and he does as he likes." There was no doubt about it. Marlon was a hopeless case. Marlon's mum decided to take drastic action. She gathered up every single noo-noo she could find and dumped them all in the dustbin 5 minutes before the rubbish truck arrived. But Marlon had made plans just in case the worst should happen. He had secret noo-noos all over the house. There was a yellow one down the side of the armchair, a blue one at the back of the bread bin, various different types in his toy ambulance, and his favourite pink one was lurking in the toe of his welly boot. His mother and granny were astonished. They couldn't think where he kept finding them. "You'll be teased when you go out to play," warned his granny. "A great big monster like you with a baby's dummy." Marlon knew all about this already. The other monsters had been teasing him for ages, but he loved his noo-noo so much that he didn't care. The other monsters often lay in wait and jumped out at Marlon as he passed by with his noo-noo twirling around in his mouth. "Who's a big baby then?" jeered Basher. "Does the little baby need his dummy then?" sneered Alligatina. "Who's his mummy's little darling?" cooed Bumps-a-Daisy. Marlon always ignored their taunts. "You're just jealous," he replied. "You'll wish you'd had one too." Gradually, the secret supply of noo-noos dwindled. Marlon's mum refused to buy any more, and they all began to be lost or thrown away by Marlon's mum. Finally, there was only one left, the pink one. Marlon kept it with him all the time, either in his mouth or under his pillow or in the toe of his welly boot, where he thought no one would look. To his delight one day, Marlon found one extra noo-noo that his mum had missed. It was a blue one, which had fallen down the side of his bed and had been covered up by a sock. He knew his best pink noo-noo wouldn't last forever, so he crept out and planted the blue one in the garden. All the other monsters decided to gang up on Marlon. They collected lots of different bits of junk and fixed them all together until they had made just what they wanted. It was a noo-noo snatcher. Then they waited behind a bush until Marlon came past with his pink noo-noo twirling in his mouth. "Here he comes," said Alligatina. "Grab it!" yelled Bumps-a-Daisy. "Now!" said Basher. With one quick hooking movement, they caught the ring of the noo-noo and the noo-noo snatcher and pulled. But Marlon clenched his teeth and held on. Monsters have the most powerful jaws in the world. Once they've decided to hang on, that's it. Marlon hung on, the monsters hung on the Noo Noo Snatcher, and there they stayed, both sides pulling with all their monster might. And there they would still be if Marlon had not decided just at that very moment that perhaps he was too old to have a Noo Noo after all. So he let go. And all the other monsters went whizzing off down the road, across the park and into the pond with a mighty splash. Marlon went home. "I've given up my Noo Noo," he said. "I sort of threw it into the pond." "Good gracious me!" exclaimed Marlon's mum, sitting down with the shock. "I told you," said Marlon's granny. "You just have to be firm." "Actually," said Marlon, "I've planted one, so I'll have a Noo Noo tree, just in case I change my mind." "That's nice, dear," said Marlon's mum.
"Nonsense,"
said Marlon's granny. "Dummies don't grow on trees. A Noo Noo tree? How ridiculous!" But that's just what Marlon had.